making a profile pit in an orchard, capturing data, and use that as the blueprint of this orchard to be able to schedule in the future. We always see the symptoms here and then we want to see what's the reason for that. But we never open a profile to see what the roots are like, and because this is only a mirror of what is actually going on underneath.
The theoretical schedules that you set yourself up, it's a good guideline, but without your field observations, you're going to get too wet or too dry over time. It brings you to 80% accuracy, but you need to refine it with your field observations. Okay, that's because we're doing scheduling and we're not using a roster.
The delivery rate is the rate of this emitter itself, which is 40 liters an hour. The application rate is a rate that the whole irrigation system provides in 1 hour over a whole area of an hectare.
How much water needs to be applied? And that we get with our water holding capacity times our root depth in meters times the extraction times the wetted area. So calculation 2 then asks us about the application rate. So we know how much water we need to fill the profile of the root zone. Now we say, okay, but if we know how much water we need, how much millimeters per hour can our irrigation provide, so that we know how much hours we can give.
Is communication on the farm. It's very key. Print out your design, what the engineers did for you, what the company that designed your whole farm. Print it out, put it in your pump station, so someone can visually see. Let's say we want to check block 20's pressure. You can just go down the list and say, okay, it has to be 2.5 bar, for example. It's to familiarize yourself what you're working with on the farm before you start checking pressures, flows, all of that. So when we start checking pressures, I usually like to do, let's say we take this irrigation block. I usually like to do 3 or 4 checks. I don't like to do the first one, the second or the third lateral I like to check, and then in the middle of the field, and then 2 or 3 from the bottom again. It will give you more or less an average on what's going on in the block.
If that flow starts going up, it could be an indicator that you must go and check that your drippers are not dirty on the inside.
Why do we flush? It's to remove all dirt and all particles out of your system. Flushing usually on dripper lines, on micro lines, I would do once a week, depending on your water quality.
When it runs clear, you can also try and give it some back pressure.
How many lines you can flush effectively so that you have the right pressure and velocity. You cannot open all of these lines at once and think you're going to flush effectively.
People there like hitting the drippers until they start opening, and some people also put a little piece of wire into that hole. If you do that, you're breaking the flow path, you're breaking the diaphragm, and then at the end of the day your dripper is going to over deliver, and that's obviously going to waste fertilizer and water. So the best for drip irrigation systems is to flush. 80% of your issues is generally sorted out just by correct flushing. If you do a peroxide treatment or an acid treatment, you figure out what is necessary, then it's very important to do that treatment right. But this is a very basic test. So if you just went on and you did an acid treatment because you've read somewhere that you should do an acid treatment, you would have wasted your money by not checking first if it's going to actually have a result on your specific issue. Flush before the treatment. Otherwise, if there's dirt in your pipe, the peroxide just goes and eats that dirt that's already loose. So flush out all the dirt, and then you have to inject for a full hour, and then you switch your system off overnight. So you let that peroxide sit in the system overnight, and the following morning you come and you flush out all the eaten things.